The heavy oak doors of the old city library creaked open, shattering the sacred silence like a drumbeat in a cathedral. I remember the moment clearly. Elara Voss, head archivist, looked up from her desk, her finger pressed firmly to her lips. The room froze. Everyone knew the rules. No noise, no disruption. Just the whisper of pages turning. But then Juno Reyes strode in, guitar case slung over her shoulder, her boots echoing like thunder. "I need the 192's manuscript on hidden loves, the one with the letters from that underground salon," she declared, voice carrying across the stacks. Heads turned, whispers rippled. Elara's world, built on order and quiet preservation, trembled. This woman wasn't just loud, she was a storm, chaotic and unapologetic, threatening to upend everything Elara had carefully shelved away. Their eyes met. Elara's steady and guarded, Juno's sparkling with defiance. A spark ignited, unspoken, electric.
Juno didn't lower her voice. "Come on, it's for my next set. You can't keep history locked up." Elara stood, her heart quickening against her will. For the first time in years, the silence cracked, and something wild slipped through. That spark was terrifying. Because Elara had always been the guardian of forgotten voices, especially those of women like her, queer women whose stories the world had tried to erase. Growing up in a small town where differences were whispered about but never named, she'd lost her first love young, to family pressure and unspoken fears. That pain had driven her here, to this grand library with its towering shelves and dim reading lamps, where she could control the narrative. No chaos, no heartbreak. Just facts, dates, and the safe distance of the past. Her days began at dawn, coffee in hand, as she cataloged dusty volumes on Sapphic poets and secret societies. She'd slide each book into place with precision, her fingers lingering on spines that held tales of longing and resilience. But personal connections? She avoided them like overdue notices. Colleagues nodded politely. Patrons came and went. Elara's life was a well-organized index, indexed under solitary. Yet beneath that detachment, a quiet yearning stirred. Late nights, alone in her apartment above the library, she'd read those same stories. Not as archivist, but as a woman who wondered what it would be like to live one. To feel seen, not just preserved. Her queer identity was a private archive, curated but never shared. She attended no pride events, joined no groups. The past was safer. It couldn't leave you. Why risk the present when history never changes, she'd tell herself, closing another book on lovers who triumphed against odds. Or didn't. Her routine was ritual. Morning sorting donations, afternoons assisting researchers with gloved hands and hushed tones. She specialized in the library's rare queer collection, piecing together fragments of lives hidden in margins. Letters from 19th century women who coded their affection in metaphors of gardens and stars. It was her way of belonging, vicariously. But isolation weighed heavier each year. At 38, Elara felt like one of her own artifacts, intact, but gathering dust. Friends from college had drifted into marriages or cities. She stayed, faithful to the silence that protected her heart. One crisp autumn afternoon, as leaves scratched against the windows, Elara processed a new request form. It was routine. A musician seeking access to the salon's manuscript for lyrical inspiration. The name? Juno Reyes. Elara paused, recalling the morning's intrusion. Juno's photo was attached. Wild curls, bold smile, eyes that promised disruption. The request was legitimate, but granting it meant bending rules. Special collections required appointments, not demands. Still, something pulled at Elara. The echo of those hidden loves in the pages Juno wanted. For the first time, the past felt alive, reaching toward the present. She approved it tentatively, scheduling a supervised viewing. As she filed the form, Elara's hand trembled slightly.
The library's quiet had always been her armor, but now an unexpected intrusion loomed, threatening to rewrite her carefully guarded story. Juno's energy wasn't just noise. It was a call to something Elara had long silenced within herself. The yearning for belonging, once safely archived, began to stir, pulling her toward a collision she couldn't catalog away. That collision was named Juno Reyes, who had always lived for the roar of the crowd, the way her voice could cut through amplifiers and hearts alike. At 32, she was a fixture on the local music scene, her sets a whirlwind of electric guitars and lyrics that stripped souls bare. Born in a bustling city neighborhood where family gatherings echoed with laughter and arguments, Juno learned early that silence was the enemy.
Her mother, a single parent juggling 2 jobs, filled their tiny apartment with stories of her own hidden heartaches, loves unspoken because the world demanded conformity. Juno turned that pain into art, her songs a rebellion against erasure. She thrived on chaos, late-night rehearsals that bled into dawn, fans pressing close after shows, the raw thrill of vulnerability on stage. But beneath the bravado, Juno sought something real, authenticity that didn't fade with the lights. Her queer identity was her fuel, woven into every chord about women loving fiercely in shadows. Yet tours loomed, pulling her from roots, leaving her chasing connections that matched her intensity. That afternoon, Juno pushed through the library's doors again, determined. The manuscript she needed detailed a 192's Sapphic salon, letters from women who met in speakeasies, their words coded with longing for touches they'd never fully claim. It was perfect for her new album, a tribute to hidden loves that mirrored her own journey. She'd performed at pride festivals, sung anthems of visibility, but this song would dig deeper, blending history with the ache of modern desires. No way she'd let bureaucracy gatekeep it. Her boots hit the marble floor with purpose, guitar case bumping her hip. The reading room hushed further, patrons glancing up like startled birds. Elara was at her desk, form in hand, when Juno approached. "Approved it yet?" Juno asked, leaning on the counter, her voice a warm rumble that ignored the shush from nearby. Elara looked up, her expression a mask of composure, but Juno caught the flicker in her eyes, curiosity laced with caution. Up close, Elara was striking. Sharp features softened by glasses, hair pinned back like a secret. Juno felt an instant pull, the kind that inspired ballads. Elara cleared her throat. "Miss Reyes, the approval is conditional. Supervised access only, no reproductions, and absolute silence during viewing." Her tone was even, but Juno saw the challenge she posed. A woman who embodied the very order Juno disrupted. Juno grinned, undeterred. "Silence? That's cute. But this manuscript, it's got fire in those pages. Women like us, fighting for every stolen glance. You get that, right?" She tilted her head, letting her gaze linger, flirtatious without apology. The air between them thickened, Elara's cheeks warming slightly. Around them, stares multiplied. An elderly patron coughed pointedly, but Juno didn't care. This was her stage now. Elara stood, gathering the keys to the special collections vault. "Follow me. And please, lower your voice." As they walked through the stacks, Juno's presence filled the space, her scent of leather and faint stage smoke clashing with the musty paper air. Elara's pulse quickened. Rules were her shield, yet Juno's energy chipped at it. In the vault, dim light illuminated glass cases. Elara unlocked one, gloved hands lifting the manuscript with reverence. "Touch only the edges. It's fragile." Juno leaned in, their shoulders brushing. "Fragile like secrets, huh? Bet you've read these 100 times." Her voice dropped, intimate. "What draws you to them? The romance? The risk?" Elara hesitated, the question piercing her detachment. No one asked her that, not as a person, just an archivist. "They're important historically," Elara replied, but her voice wavered. Juno's eyes held hers, persistent, seeing through the walls. "History is just yesterday's now. Imagine living it, kissing in alleys, no hiding." The flirtation hung there, bold, challenging Elara's boundaries. She felt exposed, the silence no longer protective. They spent the hour poring over the pages, Juno scribbling notes furiously, quoting lines aloud in whispers that still echoed too loud. "Listen, her hand on mine was the only revolution I needed. That's gold."
Elara nodded, drawn in despite herself, the words stirring her own buried longings. Juno's passion was infectious, her laughter bubbling when Elara explained a faded ink blot. For moments, the vault felt less like a tomb, more like a shared confession.
As time ended, Elara closed the case. That's all for today. But Juno lingered, packing slowly. Come to my show tonight? The Rusty Note, 9 p.m. I'll play something inspired by this. She tapped the manuscript, then Elara's hand lightly. A touch electric, forbidden. Elara pulled back. That's not my world. But doubt crept in. Juno's persistence planted curiosity, a seed in her ordered soil. As Juno left, waving casually, Elara touched the spot on her hand. The library resumed its hush, but for Elara, the echo of Juno's voice lingered, promising chaos she both feared and craved. Queer stories from the past now whispered of present possibilities, urging her toward the noise. The days blurred into a rhythm Elara hadn't anticipated, Juno's visits becoming as regular as the library's chime clock. Each afternoon, around 3, the doors would swing open with that same purposeful creak, and there she'd be, guitar case in tow, curls tousled from the wind outside, her smile cutting through the hush like a spotlight. Elara would glance up from her desk, heart skipping despite her resolve to maintain distance. Juno's requests were always the same. More time with the manuscript, more notes on those coded letters. But it was the extras that unraveled Elara's composure. The small slips of paper tucked into returned books, questions scrawled in Juno's looping script. The first note appeared after their second session. What's your favorite line from these pages? The one that hits you here. An arrow pointed to the chest. Elara stared at it for minutes after closing the vault, the paper soft under her fingers. She didn't respond, but the next day, when Juno arrived, Elara found herself quoting it aloud during their viewing. In the shadow of the oak, our hands found what words could not. Juno's eyes lit up, leaning closer over the table. That's the one. Feels like stealing fire, doesn't it? Their discussion flowed then, tentative at first, Elara explaining the historical context, the salon's role as a haven for women-loving women in an era of raids and whispers. Juno listened, chin on hand, her usual energy tempered to match the vault's dim intimacy. By the third visit, the notes evolved. Ever wonder if those women felt as alone as we do sometimes, playing pretend in plain sight? Elara read it in the break room, away from prying eyes, a flush creeping up her neck. When Juno arrived, the conversation deepened. They sat side by side, the manuscript open between them, as Juno shared snippets of her own life. I write about that isolation in my songs, the masks we wear on stage, pretending the crowd sees all of us. Her voice softened, vulnerability cracking through the bravado. Elara nodded, surprised by the parallel to her own guarded days. The past is full of those masks. These letters, they're what remains after the pretending ends. For the first time, Elara felt seen, not as the archivist, but as someone who understood the weight of hidden truths. The rapport built like a melody, layer by layer. Juno's questions pulled Elara into stories she'd long kept theoretical, romances between poets who met in libraries much like this one, their affections veiled in sonnets. One afternoon, as rain pattered against the vault's small window, Juno confessed a softer side. My last tour, I met this woman in a bar after a show. We talked all night about dreams, but come morning, she ghosted. Said the chaos of my life was too much. Juno's fingers traced a letter's edge, her gaze distant. Makes you question if anyone's built for the real thing. Elara's chest tightened. She knew that doubt, the fear of connection shattering her solitude. Maybe it's not about being built for it, she murmured. Maybe it's choosing it anyway. Juno looked at her then, really looked, and Elara felt the air shift, charged with unspoken recognition. Laughter came unexpectedly, rare and bright, during their fourth session. Juno had misread a faded word, felicity, as feline city, and spun an absurd tale of cat-loving revolutionaries. Elara's lips twitched, then broke into a genuine chuckle, the sound echoing softly in the vault. She clapped a hand over her mouth, eyes wide. I haven't laughed like that in... I don't know. Juno beamed, triumphant. See? Even archives need a little rhythm. That moment lingered, Elara questioning her isolation for the first time. Was safety worth the emptiness? The library, once her sanctuary, now felt confining. Juno's presence a key turning in a long locked door. Their talks wove queer threads through the hours, Juno bridging the gap between archive tales and modern heartaches. These women hid in salons, but today, we're out there, marching, loving loud. Still, the stares, the judgments. It's the same fight. She shared a story of her first pride, kissing a girlfriend under rainbow flags only to face family fallout. It mirrored those letters, the joy mixed with the knife's edge. Elara listened, her own isolation stark in contrast. She'd curated belonging for others, but denied it herself, fearing the present's unpredictability. I preserve their stories so they aren't forgotten, Elara admitted. But mine? It's safer unwritten. Juno's hand brushed hers then, accidental over a page, but neither pulled away. The touch lingered, warm, electric, heightening the pull Elara fought. Stolen glances followed, Juno's foot nudging hers under the table, fingers grazing as they turned fragile sheets. The vault, with its locked door and low light, amplified the forbidden intimacy, each contact a whisper of what could be. By week's end, the notes turned personal. What's one risk you've never taken? Asking for a song. Elara's safe world cracked further, laughter and confessions eroding her walls. Juno's vulnerability revealed a woman not just chaotic, but deeply seeking, mirroring Elara's hidden yearnings. The romantic tension simmered, touches igniting sparks in the quiet, pulling Elara toward a precipice. She knew the rules, professional distance, no entanglements. But Juno's energy made silence feel like suffocation. One evening, as they packed away the manuscript, Juno's eyes held a challenge. My show's tomorrow. The Rusty Note. Come here with these letters inspired. Elara hesitated, the noise of that world daunting. But the pull was undeniable. Maybe, she said, surprising herself. As Juno left, Elara stared at the closed vault door, heart pounding. Stepping into the unknown noise felt terrifying, yet the alternative, eternal quiet, suddenly seemed lonelier than ever. And so, against every rule and every instinct, Elara made the choice to step into the storm. Elara stood outside the Rusty Note, the neon sign flickering above the entrance like a hesitant invitation. She'd told herself it was just curiosity, a one-time step beyond her shelves, but as the muffled bass thrummed through the door, doubt clawed at her. The library had closed hours ago, its silence a ghost she could still feel in her bones. She adjusted her coat, the one she wore for rainy days, and pushed inside. The air hit her first, thick with bodies and the low hum of anticipation. Tables clustered near a small stage, lit by a single spotlight that cut through the dimness. Elara found a spot at the back, blending into the shadows, her hands clasped tight in her lap. She scanned the room for Juno, heart picking up pace. Then the lights dimmed further, and Juno emerged, guitar in hand, her presence commanding the space without a word. She stepped to the mic, curls falling loose, and strummed the opening chords. The song started soft, building from the manuscript's echoes, lines about hidden hands and shadowed oaks woven into lyrics that ached with recognition. We wrote our love in the margins where no one dared to look, Juno sang, her voice raw, carrying the weight of those long-gone women. Elara leaned forward despite herself, captivated. Juno's energy was overwhelming, not just loud, but alive, pouring out passion that filled every corner. On stage, she transformed, vulnerable yet fierce, her eyes scanning the crowd as if searching for something real amid the applause.
Elara saw it then. The raw core beneath the chaos.
Juno bearing her soul in a way the library's pages only hinted at.
The set built to a crescendo. Songs shifting from historical tributes to modern anthems of queer defiance, each note pulling Elara deeper into the storm she'd feared. As the final chord faded, the room erupted. But Elara stayed seated, processing the rush. Juno spotted her from the stage, a grin breaking through the sweat on her face. She waved Elara over during the break, and though every instinct screamed to leave, Elara wove through the crowd to the side door marked backstage. It led to a narrow hallway lined with posters of past shows, the noise muffled now. Juno appeared, still buzzing, towel around her neck. "You came! And stayed! That's huge!" She pulled Elara into a quick hug, the contact brief but warm. Elara stiffened at first, then relaxed, the adrenaline of the performance lingering in Juno's touch.
They slipped into a small green room, just a couch and a table cluttered with water bottles and notebooks. Juno collapsed onto the couch, gesturing for Elara to join her. "That last song, the one about the salon, it's yours now too. Your words made it breathe." Elara sat on the edge, the contrast stark. This cluttered space versus the vault's order. Juno's eyes softened, the stage mask slipping. "Shows like this, they're my high, but they leave me empty sometimes. Everyone sees the performer, not the woman behind the guitar. Faking it gets old." Her voice dropped, revealing the toll of constant visibility. Elara nodded, understanding the flip side. "I hide everything. The library lets me control what's seen. But watching you up there, it was honest. Scary, but real." The conversation turned to their differences, the clash inevitable in the quiet aftermath. Juno leaned forward, elbows on knees. "You fear the chaos, don't you? The unpredictability of it all." Elara met her gaze, the words pulling a confession free. "Yes. Chaos took my first love. Family tore us apart because we were too loud about it, too visible. I built walls after that, chose silence to survive." Juno reached out, covering Elara's hand with her own. "But silence isn't living. It's waiting. Embrace the present, Elara. Let it be messy. That's where the good stuff happens, the connections that stick." Her words urged without pressure, a gentle push toward the risk Elara had archived away. For the first time, Elara saw the appeal. Juno's life as a call to feel, not just preserve. They delved deeper, blending the past's queer struggles with their current desires. Juno shared stories from her early days, coming out in a conservative family, performing at underground bars where women like them found fleeting safety. Those salon letters, they're my great-grandma's era, but the fight's the same. Hiding who we love, then fighting to shout it. Elara opened up in return, recounting the isolation of curating those histories without living them. "I read about women who risked everything for a glance, a touch. Part of me envies that fire. But now, with you, it feels possible again." Their talk wove identity into intimacy, past pains echoing present longings, the societal weights of judgment, the joy of shared secrets. Juno's vulnerability mirrored Elara's, turning contrast into common ground. "We're both seekers," Juno said. "You in books, me in songs. Maybe together, we find the whole story." The night stretched, their voices overlapping in the small room, until Juno stood. "Walk with me? Need some air." Elara followed, the backstage door leading to a quiet alley behind the venue. The city sounds faded here, distant traffic, a soft breeze rustling trash. They leaned against the brick wall, the space between them charged. Juno turned, her face illuminated by a sliver of streetlight. "Thanks for coming. You saw me. Really saw me." Elara's breath caught, the emotional height of the evening cresting. Juno stepped closer, hand brushing Elara's arm, then cupping her cheek. Time slowed, the world narrowing to this moment. Elara didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned in, their lips meeting in a kiss that was cinematic in its intensity, soft at first, then deepening with the pent-up tension of their worlds colliding. Juno's hand threaded into Elara's hair, the kiss tasting of risk and revelation, charged with the emotion they'd built note by note, page by page. It was terrifying, beautiful, a bridge between silence and sound. They broke apart, foreheads touching, breaths mingling. Elara's heart raced, the alley's quiet amplifying the shift. That was... Juno smiled, thumb tracing Elara's jaw. Real. Like those letters, but ours. They lingered, hands intertwined, the kiss sealing a deepening bond that felt both fragile and unbreakable. The next morning, Elara returned to the library. The routine unchanged on the surface, sorting returns, answering queries. But everything felt altered. Juno's kiss, a secret hum beneath her skin. She approved another session without hesitation, anticipation mixing with unease. Colleagues noticed her distraction, a whispered comment about that musician reaching her ears. The rules loomed larger now. No personal interactions in special collections. Professionalism above all. Whispers of budget cuts made job security precarious. Any scandal could tip the scales. Elara shelved a book, fingers lingering. The vault's door suddenly a threshold rather than a barrier. Juno's text arrived mid-afternoon. Can't stop thinking about last night. See you soon? Elara replied yes, but doubt crept in. External pressures testing their connection, the library's expectations clashing with the pull toward Juno's world. As closing neared, she wondered if this bond could survive the worlds pulling them apart, or if it would force a choice she wasn't ready to make. The private sessions in the vault stretched into stolen hours, the locked door a fragile barrier against the library's watchful eyes. Elara justified it at first. Juno's research was legitimate, her insights enriching the collection's legacy. But soon, their meetings veered into personal territory. Hands lingering too long on shared pages, whispered confessions that echoed beyond professional bounds. One afternoon, as they debated a letter's subtext, Juno's knee pressed against Elara's under the table, deliberate and warm. Elara didn't move away, but guilt twisted in her gut. The library's code was clear. No fraternization, especially in restricted areas. Whispers had already started among the staff. A clerk mentioning that musician hanging around too much, her tone laced with suspicion. Elara's supervisor, Miss Hargrove, pulled her aside one morning, eyes narrowed. We're under scrutiny with a budget review. Any impropriety could cost jobs, yours included. Elara nodded, promising discretion, but the risk loomed like an overdue fine, threatening the career she'd built as her anchor. Internally, the vulnerability gnawed at Elara, reopening wounds she'd long bandaged with routine. Nights after Juno left, Elara paced her apartment, replaying their touches, the way Juno's laugh filled the vault's stale air. It felt alive, intoxicating, but terror followed. Echoes of her past loss, the girlfriend who'd vanished under family scorn, leaving Elara shattered and silent. What if this ends the same? She'd whisper to her reflection, heart pounding. Opening up meant risking that pain again. The chaos of love dismantling her ordered life. Juno's texts arrived like lifelines. Miss your voice already. Dinner soon? Elara replied yes, but doubt festered. She caught herself shelving books out of order, her mind adrift. The detachment that once protected her, now feeling like a cage. The yearning for Juno clashed with fear, pulling her between the safety of isolation and the terror of true connection. I can't lose everything again, she confided to an empty room, but the words rang hollow against the pull of Juno's energy. Juno's world, meanwhile, tugged her in opposing directions, the tour schedule a relentless shadow. Her manager called during one of their sessions, phone on speaker as Juno paced the vault. The label wants you on the road in 2 weeks. East Coast run, big venues. This album's your breakout. Juno's face lit up, but then fell as she glanced at Elara. Sounds amazing, but timing's tight. Hanging up, she slumped into her chair. Tours are my lifeblood. Crowds feeding off the songs we built from those letters. But leaving now?
It highlights everything different about us. You in your quiet haven, me chasing the next stage. Elara felt the distance widen, Juno's nomadic spirit a stark contrast to her rooted stability. Juno reached for her hand, squeezing. I don't want to go without knowing this is real. But the lifestyle chasm yawned, late nights versus early mornings, spotlights versus stacks, making commitment feel like a melody out of tune. As their romance became more visible, societal judgment surfaced, sharpening the queer themes they'd explored in whispers. They met for coffee outside the library, Juno's arm casually around Elara's waist, drawing stares from passersby. An older woman at the next table muttered, disgraceful, in broad daylight, her voice carrying just enough to sting. Elara froze, pulling away, the echo of her past traumas amplifying the hurt. Juno bristled. Ignore them. We're not hiding like those salon women had to. But the judgments escalated. A homophobic graffiti tag on Juno's venue poster, online trolls mocking her library fling after a fan spotted them. At a quiet diner date, a server lingered too long, eyes judgmental, making Elara's skin crawl. This is what they fought against, Juno said, voice fierce. The stares, the erasure. But loving you? Worth every glare. Elara nodded, but the external pressures mirrored internal ones. The world's scrutiny testing their bond, forcing queer identity from private joy to public battle. The emotional peak erupted one rainy evening in the vault, after Juno announced the tour was confirmed. No delays. Elara had been distant all day, the accumulated fears boiling over. How can we build anything when you're always leaving? This, us, it's just another performance for you. Juno's eyes flashed, hurt turning to anger. A performance? I've poured my soul into this, into you. Those songs, our talks, they're real. But you're the one hiding, afraid to commit because it might mess up your perfect silence. Elara's voice cracked. Commitment? It destroyed me before. I lost her because we were too open, too much like you, chaotic, visible. I won't survive that again. Juno stepped closer, voice breaking. I'm not her, Elara, but if you keep choosing fear over us, you'll lose me anyway. I need to know you're in this, not just dipping a toe. Tears welled in Elara's eyes, the argument exposing raw fears. Juno's of superficial connections, Elara's of devastating loss. They stood inches apart, breaths heavy, the vault's confines amplifying the pain. Juno turned away first. I leave in 10 days. Decide what you want. The door clicked shut behind her, leaving Elara alone with the manuscript, its lover's words mocking her turmoil. In the days that followed, tension hung like fog, their texts sparse, meetings avoided. Elara threw herself into work, but the professional risks compounded, Hargrove scheduling an audit of special collections access, her gaze lingering accusingly. Juno's tour prep consumed her, rehearsals pulling her further away, the lifestyle divide a chasm. Yet the pull remained, a quiet ache amid the judgments and doubts. Elara stared at the vault's key, wondering if silence could ever feel whole again. Then, one frantic afternoon, a crisis unfolded at the library. A researcher complaining of unauthorized access, fingers pointing toward the musician's frequent visits. Hargrove summoned Elara, the weight of potential dismissal crashing down. It forced the choice. Cling to her safe, silent world, or step into the storm with Juno, risking everything for the love that had cracked her open. The choice was made, the risk taken, and the world had not ended. The crisis hit like a storm breaking over the library's vaulted ceilings, swift and unforgiving. Elara had called Juno that morning, her voice steady despite the turmoil churning inside. We need to talk, before you leave. Juno arrived unannounced, slipping past the front desk during the lunch lull, her tour bag slung over one shoulder as if ready to bolt at any moment. They met in the vault, the door locking with a finality that echoed their strained silence. The manuscript lay open on the table, its pages a fragile witness to their unraveling bond. Juno set her bag down,
eyes searching Elara's face. "I've been waiting for this. For you to fight for us." Elara paced the narrow space, words tumbling out in a rush. "I can't keep pretending this isn't tearing me apart. The risks, my job, my life, it's all I have left after what happened before." Juno stepped closer, frustration etching her features. "And I can't keep pretending you'll ever let me in fully. This tour isn't just gigs. It's my world, the one I want you in." Their voices rose, the vault's walls amplifying the heat. Elara gestured wildly at the manuscript, her hand knocking a stack of reference notes. In the chaos, her elbow caught the edge of the table. The rare book teetered, then slipped, pages fluttering as it hit the floor with a sickening thud. Ink from an open pot, left carelessly from Elara's earlier notes, splashed across the cover, seeping into the brittle paper like blood on snow. Time froze. Elara dropped to her knees, gloved hands hovering, horror widening her eyes. No. Oh God, no. The damage was immediate. Watermarks blooming, edges curling, centuries of hidden words now marred beyond repair. This wasn't just any book. It was the salon's crown jewel, a piece of queer history irreplaceable, its value in the thousands. Panic surged through her, visions of Hargrove's audit, the budget cuts, her career dissolving like the ink before her. This is it. They'll fire me. Everything I've preserved. Gone because of us. Juno knelt beside her, face pale, but instead of retreating, she reached out, steadying Elara's trembling shoulders. "We'll fix this. Together." The confrontation unfolded in the vault's dim light, Juno's defense fierce and unyielding. She grabbed a cloth from her bag, dabbing at the spill with careful urgency, her tor-hardened hands gentle on the pages. "Listen to me. This isn't the end. I'll call my contacts. There are restorers who specialize in this. And if they blame you, I'll tell them it was my fault. I pushed too hard, came here uninvited." Elara shook her head, tears blurring the ruined text. "You don't understand. This place is my life. Without it, I'm nothing." Juno cupped Elara's face, forcing their eyes to meet, her voice breaking with raw emotion. "You're everything to me. Not the archivist, not the silence. You. I've loved you since that first note in the book, since you laughed in this room. I won't let you lose yourself because of fear. We face this storm side by side, or not at all." The words hung heavy, Juno's unwavering support a lifeline in the wreckage, her love laid bare without the shield of performance or flirtation. Elara saw it then, the depth of Juno's commitment. Not chaotic impulse, but a steady flame amid her wandering life. Word of the incident spread like whispers through the stacks. By afternoon, Hargrove burst into the vault, her face thunderous, a facilities report clutched in hand. Colleagues gathered at the door, murmurs rippling. Scandal in special collections. The prized manuscript defaced. Elara stood before her superior, the damaged book sealed in a protected folder on the table, evidence of her lapse. "This is catastrophic, Voss. Donors will pull funding. The board will demand accountability. Explain yourself." Elara's throat tightened, the weight of judgment pressing down. Silence had always been her refuge, the easy choice to preserve her world intact. But now, facing dismissal, she weighed it against the authentic passion Juno had awakened, the risk of love that pulsed louder than any archive's hush. "It was an accident," she began, voice steadying, "during a research session. But it's more than that. I've hidden behind these rules, these books, afraid to live beyond them. This woman, Juno, she's shown me the stories I curate aren't just history. They're a call to embrace my own." Hargrove's eyes narrowed, but Elara pressed on, the drama heightening as Juno stepped forward from the shadows. "Blame me if you must, but Elara's the best guardian this collection has. Firing her would erase the very preservation you're fighting for." The room tensed, superiors exchanging glances, the confrontation a crossroads, where Elara's guarded life collided with the bold present Juno represented. In that charged moment, Elara's resolution crystallized, embracing both worlds, the past's preservation and the present's love, as twin pillars of her identity. I've spent years saving queer stories from erasure, women like us who loved despite everything. But I've erased myself in the process, staying silent when I should speak, isolated when I should connect. Juno's chaos isn't a threat. It's the rhythm to my quiet. Together, we honor the past by living it now. Hargrove paused, the admission's sincerity cutting through the protocol. We'll investigate fully, but passion for the work matters. Clean this up, both of you, and prove it won't happen again. The reprieve was tentative, but it was enough. The heightened drama resolving into a fragile truce. Elara's career hung by a thread, yet the weighing of silence against passion tipped toward the latter. Her queer identity no longer archived, but alive, woven into a future with Juno. Reconciliation came in the vault's aftermath, as the door clicked shut on the dispersing staff. Elara turned to Juno, tears spilling freely now, the emotional floodgates opening. I was so scared of losing you, of losing this. But you're right. I can't hide anymore. Juno pulled her close, their embrace fierce, ridging the chasm of their contrasting lives, the librarian's rooted order meeting the musician's nomadic fire. I love you, Elara, all of you. The quiet, the strength, the woman who sees the stories no one else does. Elara clung to her, admission pouring out. And I love you. The chaos, the passion, the way you make the present sing. I'm in this. With you. Their kiss was tear-salted, a tearful vow sealing the bridge between silence and sound, past losses healed by present commitment. Juno's tour loomed, but now it felt shared, their bond fortified against the pulls of judgment and doubt. They navigated the immediate aftermath hand in hand, Juno staying through the restoration process, her connection securing an expert from the City Museum. Elara coordinated with Hargrove, transparency rebuilding trust, the incident transforming into a cautionary tale rather than a dismissal. Whispers among staff shifted from suspicion to quiet respect, Elara's vulnerability humanizing her role. Juno postponed her departure by a week, using the time to weave their story into a new song snippet, performed softly in the vault for Elara alone. External pressures eased as they forged a shared path, Elara planning flexible hours for visits, Juno promising routes in the city between tours. The damaged book became a symbol, its repair mirroring their own, scars visible but strengthened. As days turned to preparation, their connection deepened, a hybrid life emerging where library events might one day host Juno's acoustic sets, blending worlds into harmony. The future stretched open, no longer divided but intertwined, pulling them toward resolution and the quiet promise of enduring love. With the restoration underway, Elara and Juno turned the crisis into a turning point, their hands working side by side on the manuscript's delicate repair. The expert Juno had called arrived the next week, a soft-spoken conservator who marveled at the book's resilience, much like their own. Elara watched as Juno held the fragile pages steady, her usual restless energy channeled into careful precision. It was a small act, but it symbolized the new balance they were forging. Elara's world of preservation, opening to Juno's creative force. By month's end, the book was stabilized, its scars a testament to survival rather than loss. Hargrove, impressed by their initiative, approved a pilot program. Library events blending history and performance. Elara proposed acoustic readings of queer texts, with musicians interpreting them live. Juno volunteered first, her set list drawing from the salon letters they'd pored over. The inaugural night filled the reading room with hushed attendees, Juno's guitar strumming softly amid the stacks, her voice weaving past and present into harmony. Elara stood at the edge, no longer hidden behind her desk but part of the flow, introducing pieces, her voice steady, sharing how these stories had reshaped her. The blend worked. Patrons lingered, discussion sparking about hidden histories coming alive. It wasn't seamless. Juno's volume occasionally drew shushes, but it bridged their worlds, silence enriched by sound, order invigorated by rhythm. Emotional closure settled in quiet moments, their commitment deepening like roots taking hold. After the event, they walked home together, Juno's arm around Elara's waist, no longer flinching at passing glances. "This is us now," Juno said, her words a vow. "No more hiding, no more half-steps." Elara leaned into her, the weight of past isolation lifting. Their queer belonging affirmed itself, not in grand gestures, but in the everyday. Shared pride stickers on Juno's guitar case. Elara's apartment now dotted with sheet music beside novels. Romance bloomed in the spaces between. Lazy Sundays where Juno hummed melodies while Elara annotated books, their laughter a private symphony. Juno's tour resumed, but with promises. Weekly calls, visits woven into schedules. Elara found strength in the distance, her letters to Juno echoing the manuscript's coded affections, turning absence into anticipation. When Juno returned, their reunions were fierce, bodies and hearts reaffirming the love that had withstood judgment and doubt. It was a deepened bond, affirming their place in a lineage of women who loved boldly, their story a living chapter in the queer tapestry Elara once only curated. The cinematic finale unfolded one quiet morning, sunlight filtering through Elara's apartment curtains like a soft spotlight. They sat at the kitchen table, an open book between them, the restored manuscript, its pages whispering of enduring passion. Juno's guitar rested nearby, strings glinting. Elara read aloud a line about lovers finding solace in dawn's light, her voice steady, alive. Juno picked up the instrument, fingers dancing to compose a melody that captured the word's essence, her eyes locked on Elara's. No words passed, just the rhythm of creation, side by side. Elara's pen marking rhythms in the margins, Juno's chords building the emotion. It was intimate, profound, a snapshot of their intertwined lives, the librarian's reflection meeting the musician's improvisation, past and present in perfect duet. Elara felt whole, the terror of risk transformed into beauty. Elara's growth shone through it all, from the isolation of her guarded days to this empowered connection. She'd once viewed love as a fragile artifact, to be preserved at arm's length. Now she embraced it as a living force, her vulnerability a strength that drew others in. Colleagues noticed the change, her suggestions bolder, her presence warmer. At Pride that year, she marched beside Juno, hand in hand, no longer an observer, but a participant. The library thrived under her renewed passion, events drawing diverse crowds, queer stories celebrated openly. Juno's album, inspired by their journey, topped local charts, its liner notes crediting, "The archivist who taught me silence has its own song." Their contrasting lives no longer clashed but complemented. Elara traveling to shows, Juno finding quiet in the stacks during off-seasons. As months turned to years, they navigated challenges, tour strains, library politics, but each fortified their path. Elara's apartment became their shared home, bookshelves mingling with amplifiers, a testament to blended worlds. Fade to their future. Elara leading a workshop on Sapphic literature. Juno performing an original piece mid-session. The audience captivated by the seamless fusion. Hope lingered in every note, every turned page. Intrigue in the possibilities ahead. A life where silence and sound, past and present, love without apology. Their story promised more. Resilience, joy, the endless melody of two women choosing each other, again and again. Their hands intertwined over the open book and guitar, fingers tracing words and strings in unison. A final image of harmony born from collision. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more Sapphic stories that capture real hearts. Share in the comments what pulled at yours.